Hello everyone, and thank you for stopping by. Welcome again to my channel, the ESCI channel. For those of you who might not know what that stands for, it's an acronym which stands for, I started this channel just to give you a bit of brief background to, firstly, to share my journey, some challenges I was having with my health many years ago. Some of you may know that I used to suffer with endometriosis, and I used this forum to reach out to other women who might have been going through the same thing. And because Simone isn't just all about the health, I also use the channel to be able to talk about topics of interest that might hopefully be of interest to you as well. So I wanted it to be a platform where you could engage, share, connect, inform, and empower, hence the acronym ESCI. So I am so excited, super excited to announce there's been lots and lots happening, but one of the things that I got involved with recently is the singles event space. I'm very blessed to be part of an amazing church called iCAN Community Church, and we're organizing our first singles event in a few weeks' time on the 25th of February. Yes, you heard it here, 25th of February. We'll be having this amazing event for single-minded Christians, and we're looking for kings and queens who are ready to take that next step, ready to meet their intended, ready to take things to the next level. And to that end, I have with me here today the lovely Janet McNish. Janet has actually been on my platform before, where we discussed the Navigating Life anthology series. We were both part of that last year. Can't believe it's been a year already, almost. And she's here today, indeed. I like it. And she's here today to discuss with me, just have some, share some thoughts about the singles event, the world of being single, and all those wonderful things, with a view to sharing a little bit more with you guys so you know what to expect and why you need to be there on the 25th. So without much further ado, welcome, Janet. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Simone. Thank you for welcoming me back. Allowing me to come back on your channel. Really appreciate it. Good to see you.
Oh, and you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Janet. So for those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, would you just like to briefly describe who you are, what you do?
Okay. So who I am and what I do roll into each other, but who I am first. Yes, I'm Janet McNish, and I am first of all a child of God, precious daughter of God, and my identity is very wrapped up in that. And as I've come to increase my relationship with the Lord, I've become more free and become even more myself, more authentic, which is great. And that's led me into working as a counsellor. And I've worked as a counsellor for 25 years, and I specialise in trauma and relationships. And the most important relationship you can have, earthly speaking, is the relationship you have with yourself before you have relationships with others, because how you feel about yourself affects what you can expect in life, the quality of relationships you can have. It affects what you believe you can have by way of your career, ministry, friendships. So I always encourage people to start with you. Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What areas need development? What you enjoy? What makes you thrive? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? Be aware of those things and learn and grow. Have a commitment to growing, which is what I have. So that's me in a nutshell. Oh, and I am actually at the moment, I am actually single, and the word single means unique, individual, and whole. And I love that.
I like that.
Yeah, unique, individual, whole. So I am unique, individual, and whole. And if you are unmarried, you are also unique, individual, and whole. And for relationships to get together, romantic relationships, it's important for two unique individual whole people to come together rather than two broken people, fragmented people looking for the other one to fix them.
Absolutely. I like that. Hopefully we'll come on to talk a little bit more about that later, Janet. I can't wait to hear, whatever pearls of wisdom you're going to drop on us today, because of course this is your arena, the relationship coaching. But yeah, thank you for that intro. I really, it was resonating, and I'm sure that would be a blessing to many. Coming on to our title, the title that we gave the singles event, Kings and Queens. When you saw those words, what did that conjure up in your mind?
I thought of regal, royalty, dignity, self-respect, respect for others, embracing others' differences. I think about the kings and queens of the nations and the celebration and pomp and circumstance of traveling to somewhere, meeting with each other, just a celebration of that. And I know these phrases are used quite a lot now. It's very fashionable to call a woman a queen and a man a king. And what does that mean, really? What does that mean for people? And so I've got my views on that, which is kind of changing. But yeah, it's about character, about having wisdom, discernment, reaching towards excellence, excellence as opposed to perfection. Yes, kings and queens expect the best, and how can we expect the best if we're not working towards being the best ourselves?
Absolutely, I hear that, and it ties in quite nicely with your intro, which is about having found yourself and reaching that space of wholeness and oneness, and embracing your uniqueness, because we all are. We're made uniquely and wonderfully in His image. As my mother dearest always says, our fingers are not all the same. From the one hand, yes, but we are all here on this earth to bring something special, divinely special, because that's how we are. So when you're at one with that image, with your identity, and you're clear about that, and you're okay with that, actually, then that's when your king or your queen will appear. What is it they say? You attract who you are, not what you want.
Yes, you attract where you're at, which is all the more reason if you're not where you want to be in life, not just about financial desires, about your character. What are your habits? What are your practices? And it's be the person, work on becoming the person you really want to be and who you're created to be. And then you're more likely to be more confident and enjoy the friendships and unions that you come across.
Absolutely. So you mentioned earlier, Janet, you made reference to your single status, and again, I loved the connection with the wholeness and uniqueness about that. What, however, may you describe, or what may you have found challenging on your journey as a single woman looking for her forever partner in life, her king?
Lots of challenges over the years. I don't know if I'd say I'm looking. I'm open to being found. I'm not searching for the person. I think I like to put myself in an environment, in position where I may be found by someone suitable. Yeah. I'm not searching the streets, searching here and there, desperately looking. I'm not desperate, and desperation isn't. Right? No, yeah, please. And I can understand what it feels like to be at a stage where your body clock's going and all that stuff, and you really want to meet somebody, and that's hard. That's really difficult, and one can feel desperate. I have felt desperate in the past, in different situations. It never turned out well. So desperation affects your affects your judgment. And yeah, it's again, it's always back to knowing yourself and accepting your good and bad, the shadow side, we call it in therapy, that none of us are perfect. We all have a side that we like, and another side that we'd like to improve. So regarding some of the challenges I've had have been, well, actually I was engaged to be married, and it started off great. We got engaged in front of 200 people at my church as one of the leaders, still am. And we got engaged. People came from Italy, out of London, big engagement party and everything. And was it 3 months before the wedding, I cancelled the wedding because when he proposed to me, I said, well, yes, if you continue to treat me like this. And it was great then, but he got complacent, and I looked back and I realized that I hadn't maintained certain boundaries, so I can't blame him completely. But now I'm like, boundaries queen, watch this space. So I cancelled the wedding because things had gone deteriorated, and because I've been helping people transform their own relationships, helping couples improve their marriage, transform their marriage. Many couples come to counselling after one of them has contacted a divorce lawyer. And so I've helped people to repair their marriages and thrive. And I got a message the other day from a couple I saw years ago who said they've just celebrated their 10th anniversary, and they had a big celebration, which was really lovely. And they were in a really bad place. So I really thank God that they were open to God and they did the work, and we worked well as a team. And they continued with the tools, tips and strategies that I taught them, and they're now thriving. And I even heard from one of them recently again, just like a hi, how are you doing? So it's lovely. So I think I've got off the point a little bit.
I mean, it's carry on.
All right. So I wanted to be kind of real about this. So the challenges, so the challenges I found I've had lots of different challenges regarding being single. Meeting what I tend to do is if there's an experience in life and it's difficult for me, whether it's to do with a relationship romantically or a friendship or a health issue, I look for the lesson in the pain. Why did that happen? What was my part in that? How could I do things differently in the future? And from there, I would, make different decisions. And so one of the things for me that's really important is somebody who has integrity. They have a vision for their life, that they're not just a vision, but the one that they're actually working towards. And it's not my responsibility to give someone their vision. It needs to be their vision, because with the person, although I'm very focused, I have a vision for my life. I know my purpose. I'm very clear about who I am. And because I work as a therapist, and because I'm really good at seeing the best in people and seeing people's potential, the person may not reach their potential. They may not work towards their potential or want to even reach it or even see it themselves. And that for me has been a challenge in the past, but I've learned since to recognize, they have potential. That's great. Wonderful. What are they actually doing about it? Faith without works is dead. What are they actually doing? How intentional are they about moving forward? How intentional are they about the different aspects of their life and thriving and growing and being successful in those different areas? What does success mean to them? And my idea of success might be different from theirs, but where we can meet, great. But I think it's important to know your values, have your standards in place. Standards are different from preferences. And and they say that opposites attract, and that's really exciting. But it's your values and your standards that keep you together. It's your values that keep you together.
Absolutely, when they're aligned. You
when
touched
they're
a
aligned.
nerve, you touched a nerve there, Janet. I love that. Standards are different to preferences. Do you care to elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Sure,
Because I
sure.
think these are some of the key things that singles might tell you they find they struggle with when you're trying to maybe set boundaries, for instance. Here, your standards, does the other person match? And obviously, you've got preferences in a separate category. That's interesting.
Yes, yes. So standards are things like, standards are the way you're spoken to. So if standards, and they vary for different people, everyone's coming from different places. So standards could be, okay, I'll say a couple of mine. One of my standards for me is that because I want a healthy, godly marriage, I wouldn't even date somebody who doesn't want a similar thing. I wouldn't get involved in a relationship with someone who isn't wanting to serve God wholeheartedly. It's someone who is very nominal in their faith. I'd say that might be okay for some people, but it's not for me, because if our values don't align. So standards could be about stages. Okay, a stage of life. So I'm around, there's a 50 fabulous number around my age, okay? 50 fabulous-ish area. And I might meet somebody who is 20 years younger. But for me, we're at different life stages. This is another challenge I've had. I have met some people that are younger, and I was told that I look like a lot younger. It's the grace of God in my life. I don't look like what I've been through. But the standards are, whilst it's very flattering to meet someone who's really intelligent and attractive and could be a really good catch, realistically, that would put a strain on the relationship because you're from a different generation.
Sure.
And so a standard for me is that I'll go with the research that says if you meet someone within 5 years above your age, 5 years below your age, you're within the same generation and you have a better chance of the relationship thriving. It's not a guarantee because there are other factors, but for me, that's a standard. So, I mean, if someone's absolutely extraordinary and they're like their sixth year out, then okay, we'll negotiate that.
Of course, it's not going to be rigid.
Yes, and there are exceptions to the rule, but I'm really practical, and life's hard enough. Why struggle more than you need to? So so standards are about, okay, some standards could be about what are your sexual boundaries? Yeah, your sexual boundaries might be different from his sexual boundaries or her sexual boundaries. That I've spoken to many men who have been hounded by women for sex. It's not just men pressuring women. Yeah. It goes the other way around too. Yeah. That's the standard. It's like, what about standards about money, attitudes about money? If somebody is irresponsible with money, they may not be wealthy, they may not have as much as they would like, but what are they doing about that? And what's their attitude towards money? How responsible are they? And what are they doing to fulfill their purpose regarding the money? And what are their values, what they believe about it? So whereas, and another standard could be about smoking. I know we're all in a journey. Some people might still have a struggle with smoking or doing drugs or something like that, but they still wanting to grow in their relationship with Christ. Somebody might not want to sit around waiting for them to come out of that addiction. Yeah, actually, if somebody does have an addiction, they're not ready for a relationship, because there are three of you in the relationship.
And behold.
Yeah, yeah. So they're not ready, and you can't rescue them. You cannot love them enough to bring them out of it. You'll end up being a mother or a father figure. This is for men and women. End up being a mother or father figure. It's codependent. You will be kind of like their savior in a way, but then again, they'll resent you for telling them what to do. It just doesn't work, does not work. It would be very unhealthy. So that's a standard, to not engage in a relationship with someone who has an addiction, whatever that is too. There are hidden addictions as well, such as working. People think, oh, they've got a really strong work ethic.
Yes.
But if their identity is only in their work and how much money they make, but they've got no interest in their character or integrity, or they just want to amass, gather stuff. If that's all they want to do, then that might be fine for some people, but for me, that would not be okay. So
that's
so
good intro. Definitely standards, for sure. I'm just curious as to how so with your preferences, how do you put the demarcation around that?
Okay, preferences are things that are not that deep. Preferences are, I mean, this is not mine necessarily. Preferences could be, okay, there are a lot of women that say they want a 6'6" man. And it's like, what is that? A 6'6" man is a man who is at least 6 foot tall and earning at least 6 figures, and that has to have a 6-pack.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and some women are insisting on all of those 3 things. Well, that's a preference. It's a preference. It's not a standard. Or they might prefer. I've got another. Can I just say a bit more about the 666? Yeah. Okay. With that, I want to encourage men and women. It's important. It's good to have your standards. Standards are important, and also preferences are good too, because it's a reflection of your personality, what you like, what you don't like, and preferences can make things fun and a bit more interesting. However, be honest with yourself about why you have these preferences. What's that about? A lot of women want a man that's 6 foot or taller, because that's the standard Western. Well, in a lot of societies, a tall man is seen as a successful man. Yeah, tall, dark, handsome, all of that. Well, but what is his character like? How does he treat you? How does he treat the waitress staff, the restaurant staff? What's his attitude to work and money, lying, the poor? How does he feel about Jesus? Does he gossip? Does she? What about double standards? Where are they with that? Yeah. 6-pack. And another thing, people want a man, some women want a man that's tall because they think, oh, he'll protect me. Well, it's not necessarily the case. There's different kinds of protection. And, if there's a guy that's not 6 foot tall and you're in danger and he has the right character, then he will protect you anyway, if that needs doing. But there will be protection, not just physical protection, psychological protection, protecting you from doing too much work, supporting you, all of that. So that's, I would just encourage people to be clear about the motives about these preferences. So that's the 666 thing. Another thing about preference. Oh, sorry.
No, do finish.
Okay, so preferences also, some people say they want someone, it's about appearance. Some people like, all natural hair. Some people like somebody, some people would not go out with someone who's wearing extensions. That's their preferences. Some people, some women like men with bald heads. Some, they've got to have locks. They've got to have whatever. Their preferences are not that important. Preferences about the kind of work someone does, because someone could have. It's important to be kind of equally yoked around the work and just have similar values around your work ethics and how you're going to be working together as a couple and how you're going to be managing your family life. Those sort of things. But preferences are things that are temporary. Hair grows, hair today, gone tomorrow. Next month you might see me with a different hairstyle. So I'm suddenly on your radar. Okay, it's not important.
What I'm hearing is important but not integral, and
yes,
the things that it's almost like a silent negotiation that goes on, and you have to weigh up, pros, cons. And it really goes to the heart. So if it's funny, I was following somebody the other day on social media, and she was being asked about, I don't know if you've heard of a podcast called Dear Future Wifey.
Oh, yes.
I forget the name of the host now, but he's absolutely amazing. And he was interviewing a lady the other day, asking her about her preferences, what she looks for in a man, etc. And I remember a response that she gave, which was, she didn't go down the road of, he's got to be 6 foot tall and all of this. But she almost paused, took a step back and said, for her, it's more the experience and how he makes her feel. Do you know what I mean? And these things are so important, I think, especially for queens. If you're truly a queen, yes, of course, it's nice to have, somebody nice to look at. We're human beings. We want that basic chemistry, etc. Yes, it would help that he knows how to handle money and, he has a sense of humor, etc. The list is there. But I think more crucially, if you are looking for somebody who just envelopes you in so many ways, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually as well. And when you think of the word envelope, to make you feel warm, that glowy feeling inside, you think about him, you smile. When he's there, you're this giggly, giddy teenager. For me, that's crucial. So, he's here. I love him being around me. The minute he's not, I miss him. I miss his presence. I miss his warmth. I miss the way he makes me feel. I miss the encouragement, the fact that he's so supportive of my goals, my dreams. We don't have to agree with everything. We're not joined at the hip, but there's that common understanding. We're compatible in the sense that I can work with him on his vision. I can be a helpmeet. We can complement each other in terms of strengths and weaknesses. We're not both going to be great at, I don't know, planning holidays or finances in the home. Where he knows that I'm strong at certain things, he's more than happy. He doesn't have to feel threatened because I happen to be dealing with the finances in the home. I don't feel threatened because, he makes the decisions on behalf of the household. So these are the things for me that are conjured up in my mind when you talk about that experience that your king or your queen makes you feel. I think it's so crucial. And it just fits in with everything that you're describing about, being whole and being clear about what the standards are, what the preferences are, knowing what to be not so much rigid on, but, you have a standard to maintain and knowing that you don't need to negotiate on it. But there are other things that you can compromise, give, take.
Yes. I mean, there are some things that one does need to be rigid on. Violence is not okay. I'm not going to collude with you and be involved with pornography. I'm not going to be doing certain things. Those are things to be rigid on. And if someone says something to you or treats you in a certain way at the beginning, quite early on, the first time it happens, that's the time to set the boundary.
Yes.
Like, rather than rationalizing it away, making an excuse for them. Like, absolutely. Excuse me, what just happened? Or when you did this, I felt that. What was that about?
Yeah.
If you want to keep in touch, depending on what it is, if you want to see me again, don't ever do that again. Yeah. Depending on what that is. But if it's someone that is, if it is a violence thing, gotta go. Yeah.
Nip it in the bud.
There's no negotiation around that.
Of course. Janice, I can talk to you.
That's a standard.
For sure. Yeah. I completely get the points that you're making, and honestly, I feel like I'm almost having my own free therapy session here. It's such a blessing to have you in the house, Janet. And for those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who don't know, Janet is a lady of many talents. The beautiful picture you see there in the background, I believe was painted by her own fair hands. And this is one of the many things that she just happens to do in her spare time, as well as help people on their journey to finding, spiritual nirvana. Janet, you mentioned, I could talk to you forever about, in your experience, what is it, the typical things that people struggle with in relationships, whether they're married, whether they're not married. But I'm quite keen, more interested in hearing about what have you found are some of the maybe tools and strategies that successful couples have employed, maybe with your guidance, that you found work time and time again.
Okay. Teaching basic listening skills to people, how to learn to listen, how to listen properly, and that's listening to the other person with an open mind and an open heart, even if you're holding your breath, and just staying with listening to what they're actually. It's best to breathe, because otherwise, if you don't breathe, you'll hyperventilate and then you'll get more anxious. So breathe, and breathe into what they're saying, and listen without trying to formulate an answer whilst they're speaking to you, because if you're trying to do that, you're not listening.
So true.
So I have these cards. I haven't got them to hand. I have these cards, like the listener and the speaker is two different. So we make it like a game that, couples can do this. Couples can do this anyway. So they can just draw them in different colors, big felt pens. Listener, speaker, two cards, and take it in turns when they want to discuss something. Just move the cards back and forth. And whilst I'm holding the speaker one, then I'm speaking. And whilst I'm holding the listener one, I'm listening to you by giving you my full attention, listening and trying to put a bracket in between all the thoughts and the emotions I'm having, to put those aside. It takes discipline to learn to do that. And it's one of the first things they taught us in counselling training nearly 30 years ago, how to bracket your emotions. It's like, still quite hard. So it's hard, but yes, listening. So teaching basic listening skills, asking for what you want. If this is about communication, people often say that sex and money are the main reasons that relationships break up, that marriages fail. I would disagree with that. I would say it's actually the communication about those things, the way that you communicate with each other about money, about the roles and expected roles in the relationship. And before you even get to marriage, at the engagement stage, that's when you need to be talking about, if not sooner, but that's when you need to be talking about, are we going to have one joint bank account, or two separate accounts? How is it going to work? What about when we have children? Am I expected to go back to work? I would rather stay at home. This isn't not for me. It's not for me. But but for couples to discuss your childbearing age, to who stays at home and for how long? How is that going to work? What do we need to cut back on in order to, in order for that to happen? What kind of schools we're going to send the children to, what kind of lifestyle we're going to have, how we're going to pay for that. So it's the communication and not just wishing and hoping. And so many people spend so much time and energy focusing on planning the wedding day.
Indeed.
One day.
As opposed to the entire lifetime.
Yes. Prepare for the marriage.
Yes.
Prepare for the marriage, not just for the wedding.
Absolutely.
And that's including the parents including that, especially the mums.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's mummy's dream to have, for the daughter to have a wedding like this. Daddy's dream to have a wedding like this for their son, their daughter, especially. So that, yes, to a certain extent, of course, you want to include their loved ones' wishes, but you don't want to be in debt for the next 10, 15 years for the sake of one day. Be creative. Who do you really need to have at your wedding? And agree those things.
Yeah. And it's not just being in debt. I mean, in debt, and if you're both in it together, fine. But imagine being in debt and then actually realizing that you're both on different pages because you hadn't clearly communicated what it is you want. And with that
Yes,
communicating points that you make, I would underline that with just being willing to be vulnerable as well. Because I
yes,
find that often that fear of being open and just speaking your truth gets in the way of communication. So
yes,
that's
absolutely.
again one of the things that you need to deal with at a very early stage, preferably before
Yes,
you meet the one, so that you're quite au fait actually with being transparent,
yes.
opening,
Asking,
yeah, asking questions and
absolutely.
opening conversations to the standards, the preferences, finances, sex, all of these things, families,
Yeah.
friends, work ethic or not. So
Mhm.
for sure, you make some really valid points there. Actually, I love. Yeah, I really. That's given me a lot of food for thought. I must say, it really has.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, communication is key. That is number one. Poor communication is the reason that relationships break. Poor communication and poor boundaries is the reason that relationships break up. Poor
Absolutely.
communication and poor boundaries from one or the other person. And if one person goes rogue on you, and it keeps on happening, then there's been lack of communication from the person who's been victimized because they didn't put a stop to it. They didn't set the boundary to sort of say, where were you for 2 days?
Mm.
And, you know, or whatever, if it's again, it's calling things out at the beginning, challenging things at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just do it.
That's it. That's it. I like that. Just
Yeah.
do it. Because we have the
Mm,
voices that step in and say, oh, but, I don't want him to think that I'm too pushy. Or, oh, I wouldn't want him to think that. Just if your spirit is telling you, if your spirit, again, being in touch with yourself, your inner man
mm,
is not feeling that treatment. Like you say, he goes rogue and he goes quiet. He he doesn't answer your texts or whatever the issue may be that just doesn't sit well. Especially as well if they've started, on a glowing foot and you're liking what you see in the beginning, and then suddenly you see standards start to slip, call him out.
yeah,
Writing those
yeah,
because you don't, it means it implies that you're okay with it.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and yes, we we're grown ups. We need to learn to ask what we want. We have not because we ask not, and and I mean it's important. It's just important to do that in all situations, in our personal life, our professional life, to ask. And what's the worst that can happen? They can say no. If they say no, can I
Yeah.
live with that no, or can I not live with that no? Or is there a way we can negotiate? Let's see if we can meet part way, depending what the situation is. But yes, do ask and call those things out. And there are ways of doing it as well. You don't have to be aggressive in how you do it. Be
Sure.
you can set boundaries with kindness, with respect.
Yes.
Assertiveness is about respecting. I respect myself and I respect you as a
Yeah.
fellow human being. And so I want to speak to you in a way, I will speak to you in a way that
Exactly.
respects you and
Yeah.
respects me, even if we want different things.
Yeah.
That respects as for, because we're all made in the image of God, we're all intrinsically valuable, we are all precious and honored in God's sight, and He loves us. So I think it's important to speak to each other
In that
bearing that in mind.
true.
And a gentle answer turns away wrath. So there's a way of challenging somebody. We call in counseling, we call it a compassionate challenge. And my friends know the phrase, and they sometimes will compassionately challenge me about something. Like, Janet, you're working too hard. I know, but I love what I do. you know but it is a communication.
It's
And
fun.
ask, develop assertiveness skills. That's one of the things I teach them. Also, I've got a 10 steps to resolving conflict.
Okay.
There's a 10-step process that I take the couples through as well, show them
Okay.
how to do that, and they use it. They're still using it years to come. I bump into them in different places, they're still using it. So it's not just for couples, because although I do relationship coaching and counseling, it's not only romantic relationships, it's other relationships, mother and daughter, friends,
Amazing.
you know, adult children and parents. So it's not only romantic relationships, although I'm aware that this is predominantly about romantic relationships and future spouses, which is really exciting, which brings us back to the iCAN event.
Indeed. But I like it. It's a great way to kind of round up that topic, because, you know, relationships, period, you are the one person. Yes, although you may be in a romantic relationship with, you know, your king, your queen, but the relationship you have with your parents, the relationship you have with your children, with friends, is obviously going to impact on the relationship with your other half. Do you know what I mean? So if you don't have a healthy relationship, I'll say this, I'll give an example. I often, and this is not to sound judgmental, but I often do get slightly worried if I meet somebody who doesn't have a healthy relationship with his parents, his mum, his dad. And yes, I'm aware that there can be issues within families. And yes, I know it can be a tricky one, but if I meet somebody who is openly struggling with a parental relationship, I just give that as an example. It worries me. It really does. Of course, I'm, you know, open-minded enough to hear what the issues might be. But ultimately, at the end of the day, especially with your mum, you know, the person who gave you life, if you're not able to overcome whatever those struggles may be, to at least have basic respect for her, I will struggle with that. So when you touch on that about, you know, your line of work isn't confined to just romantic relationships, that is so crucial, Janet, because you are the one person. You're in a relationship, so you may be a wife, but you are also a daughter, you're also a mother, etc., etc. And how you interact with those other people is bound to have an impact on your own, you know, romantic relationship. So lovely.
Definitely will.
Lovely.
Definitely will.
I love
Can I just respond? Thank you.
course,
can I just respond to that bit of what
that's
you
why I'm
said?
thinking back.
So,
I'm taking it all in.
okay, thank you. So that sounds like, yes, I think that's a really great example you've given there about the relationship somebody has with their parents and their ex, their significant exes, and it's like, what is that person doing? What do you do? Life happens, and it can be very difficult to have a close relationship with your parents. It takes two to do that. And if they've got their own form of dysfunction or woundedness they haven't worked through, and they've inflicted more pain on you, and you're still trying to survive the impact of that, or if you grew up in domestic violence, whether it's physical or psychological, spiritual, there's all sorts. But these things happen, and it's hard and it's painful. However, as an adult, what are you doing about it now? Are you intentional? How intentional are you about healing the pain that you've experienced, about growing from the pain, about learning lessons from what you've experienced, and how determined are you to be different from the way that parent was to you in your experience? Yeah. Some men say that, well, my dad wasn't around, so I'm not going to be around for my kids. They just are not around. That I didn't have it modeled to me. They say I'm not going to be around for my kids, for my children either, but I will have them all over the place and won't be around for them because I don't know what to do because my dad wasn't there, so no one showed me. But someone else could say, well, my dad wasn't around and I know how awful that felt as well. But they could say, but I choose to ensure that my children don't go through that pain, and I will stay. I will stay around, and I will be in their life, even if their mother and I find it impossible to be together. I will be an active feature in their lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice.
It is.
And there's a lot of help around, a lot of help. And I want to say as well, there are women that will withhold the children from the fathers. Stop it. Stop doing that. It's disgraceful. Your children are not here for that purpose. And it's important for you as well to work on your you know, not you, Simone, other people. I'm speaking to the women that are doing this, my sisters that are doing this. You're in pain, you're angry, you're in a grief process, you're stuck in a grief process. It's important to work through the grief process and learn to forgive. And again, maybe we need to do a show about forgiveness, what it is and what it isn't, but learn to forgive. It doesn't excuse what's happened, but we've really got to work on our past traumas, on the unresolved pain, on our low self-esteem. Otherwise, you're going to bring that into each relationship, and it's not going to work. And we're contaminating someone else's life, causing them more pain. Wounded people wound other people. Absolutely. Hurting people hurt people. Please work on your stuff. It's really important. Learn to set boundaries.
I hear that.
Go to a good workshop.
Oh, wow. I feel a part 2 coming on. Janet, I mean, that is going to bless so many people. Those are some real timely gems, I think, that you've just dropped there, especially with this singles event that's coming up. So for people out there who might be struggling with some of these issues, I mean, just reflect and take on board, because as we said earlier on, it starts from within, right? And yeah, hurt people, and so the cycle can continue. So yeah, I will urge my sisters and my brothers to sit up and take notes. And now that you are fully armed with all that information and guidance and wealth of experience that I have brought to you in this fabulous lady, Janet McNish. Janet, what would you say to people out there who might be thinking, singles event, I've heard about events like this. Why should they come to the Kings and Queens event on the 25th of February?
Okay. Ladies, gentlemen, sisters, brothers, you must come to this event. This has been really well organized. I know the team who've organized it, and they do things with excellence. It's in a stylish venue. Everything's going to be done very well. It's not a shabby event, you know, with paper plates in the back of some church hall where the kids, you know, where they used to do the crash. This is a proper, lovely, beautiful venue on the water, near the water. It's going to be well organized. Now, you never know who you might meet. And okay, I'd say come along, be open, enjoy meeting different people, connecting with men and women, and come along and be prayerful. You know, you don't go out and leave God at home. He's with you all the time. So it's like, Lord, you know, help me to relax, help me to enjoy the relationships. And you may meet your life partner there. That would be wonderful. Or you might meet your life partner's friend who actually you might get on, but he might remind you of his brother, he might remind you of his brother, of your brother, for example. He might remind you might need to edit this bit. You can meet people, enjoy their company. It doesn't mean that one is the one for you, but they may know someone that would be for you.
I hear that.
Yeah? Just vice versa. You never know. And why are you going to sit at home on another evening where you can just come and mingle, meet men, meet women, make friendships, and get to know each other? Some of you might end up going out in some groups, so it's less intense. But you know, you're not likely to meet someone just sitting at home. And when you meet someone in real life, you connect better. You know, Zoom, there's such a limit to what we can do with Zoom and online. It's great, but meeting in real life in person is way better. So just come, enjoy the evening, and make some new friends, and then see where those friendships lead.
Fantastic. I love it. I mean, as I say, come and leave all the preconceptions and the judgments to one side. We have those, you know, us human beings, that's how we're geared. And we're the ones who are constantly striving, or we should be striving, to have an open mind. So just leave all the preconceptions behind and just turn up with an open heart, open mind, ready to receive, because you just never know. You know, it could be friendship, it could be the relationship, it could be your permanent partnership for life. You just don't know. Either way, it's a win-win situation, because it's going to be a fabulous event. We've got dinner, we've got canapes, we've got entertainment, we have, as Janet said, it's a fantastic venue in London, and it'll be great to see you there, guys. Janet, wow, what a pleasure it has been chatting to you. Thank you so much for coming back on my channel. It's
Thank
been
you, Simone.
truly wonderful just hearing you talk about your line of work and sharing pearls of wisdom. I'm sure that's going to be a true blessing to people who watch this. So, yes, that just leaves me to say thank you so much once again, and wishing you all the best on your journey. Looking forward to seeing you on the 25th, where no doubt we will have a fabulous time.
We will.
And yeah, I don't know if any parting thoughts that you have.
Yeah, I just that song was called Learning to Love Yourself. It's the greatest love of all. It's actually not. Loving God first is the greatest love of all, but in earthly terms, learning to love yourself and is the best thing you can do. The self-respect, honoring yourself as that person who is valuable, precious, honored in God's sight. God has great plans for your life, and the results of you coming to this event could be part of that plan. And God is good, and he wants good things for you. And the more you grow in relationship with yourself in a healthy way, the more your other relationships are going to thrive, and you have an opportunity to meet up with a group of fabulous, positive, encouraging people, stylish people. Just come and enjoy, and yeah, be you. Come and be you.
That's it.
And
That's
enjoy.
it. Just be you. Just be you. Actually, we should hashtag that. Just be you. Love it. Amazing. Janet, thank you so much. That's it, guys. I will leave it there and wrap up for now. Safe to say, save that date, 25th of February. There will be information and details attached to this video when it's posted. Do secure your ticket as soon as you possibly can. And this is to all the kings and the queens out there. We look forward to seeing you on the day, and I hope you enjoy this little production that we have brought here for you today. Thank you for stopping by, and see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.